Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. Can you hear it? Can you hear the faint sound in the background? It might be a little bit difficult, a little bit hard to hear or hard to catch, depending on how far you live from California or New York. The closer you are, I promise you it's there, you can hear it. Those are the sounds of leftist tears. Specifically, those are the sounds of Rachel Maddow, throwing an epic tantrum as the world ends around her. What are we gonna do? I can't take this anymore. You mean to tell me that other people have opinions that are different than my own? Oh, I don't even really know where I'm going with this, but I'm just kind of channeling my inner Rachel Maddow. This is the point that we've reached in society, or at least in left-wing media. NBC News, a source for non-biased information according to them, well, they're currently dealing with an internal boycott as their employees revolt over the hiring of Rona McDaniel, former RNC chair, as a paid contributor. Yep, it's the worst thing ever. I guess it's the end of democracy or something, I don't know. The fascist, censorious left strikes again. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so Rachel Maddow is really not happy. And I mean really not happy. She's actually so unhappy that she decided to dedicate a good chunk of her show to going off script so she could openly complain about the hiring of Rona McDaniel by NBC News.
The person who was the head of the Republican Party during Donald Trump's time in office and during his effort to throw out the election result and stay in power anyway, and during his effort to run for election again after having done that, is Rona Romney McDaniel. And she pitched in and helped. She helped set in motion the part of the plot that involved sending fake Trump electors to Congress from states that Trump did not win. So Republicans in Washington could use those fake, fraudulent elector slates to contend that maybe Trump did win those states, even though he didn't. And so I want to associate myself with all my colleagues, both at MSNBC and at NBC News, who have voiced loud and principled objections to our company putting on the payroll someone who hasn't just attacked us as journalists, but someone who is part of an ongoing project to get rid of our system of government. Someone who still is trying to convince Americans that this election stuff, it doesn't really work, that this last election, it wasn't a real result, that American elections are fraudulent. Because that argument, that is a necessary part, that is the most necessary part of the overall project of getting us as Americans to give up on this election stuff. Because wouldn't we rather have a real man in charge anyway? Somebody who could really get some stuff done. If only we could clear away all the things in his way. And I will also say, you know, if you care what I think about this, I will tell you the fact that Ms. McDaniel is on the payroll at NBC News, to me, that is inexplicable. I mean, you wouldn't hire a wise guy. You wouldn't hire a made man like a mobster to work at a DA's office, right? You wouldn't hire a pickpocket to work as a TSA screener. And so I find the decision to put her on the payroll inexplicable. And I hope they will reverse their decision.
So I guess you understand where my little theatrical performance in the intro came from. I was channeling my inner Rachel Maddow. You know, she looks the camera in the eyes, she does her little puppy dog stare every single frickin' time. Make sure that she's staring you directly into the heart, pleading with you as if her life is in danger. You know, every single frickin' time with these leftoids, it's always the same hyperbole, the same exaggeration. It's the end of the world as we know it. Why? Because you now have a milquetoast Mitt Romney-style Republican who's going to challenge some of your dishonest narratives live on air? Or represent the other side relatively coherently? Oh, the horror. Here we go again, more leftist hypocrisy. Mud diversity and inclusion. Diversity only on the outside, however. Just visual diversity, tokenization, no actual diversity of thought. No, that's not allowed. If you hold opinions that are counter to the regime's stance, this is what you get. Complete full-on meltdown, boycott, and calls for cancellation. And of course, it wasn't just Rachel Maddow. No, of course not. The whole friggin' MSNBC lineup seemed to join in on the fun.
She was on Sunday's Meet the Press. It was her first appearance since NBC News hired her as a political analyst. I know you won't be surprised to know that we've been inundated with calls this weekend, as have most people connected with this network about NBC's decision to hire her. We learned about the hiring when we read about it in the press on Friday. We weren't asked our opinion of the hiring, but if we were, we would have strongly objected to it for several reasons, including, but not limited to, as lawyers might say, Ms. McDaniel's role in Donald Trump's fake elector scheme and her pressuring election officials to not certify election results while Donald Trump was on the phone.
And Morning Joe elaborated.
We believe NBC News should seek out conservative Republican voices to provide balance in their election coverage. But it should be conservative Republicans, not a person who used her position of power to be an anti-democracy election denier. And we hope NBC will reconsider its decision. It goes without saying that she will not be a guest on Morning Joe in her capacity as a paid contributor.
Quote, NBC should seek out conservative Republican voices to provide balance, but not a person who uses her position of power to be an anti-democracy election denier. And we hope NBC will consider its decision. All right, so there you have it, folks. According to MSNBC, anybody who asks questions about the legitimacy of any election should be banned from ever participating in the mainstream news media structure. Well, I guess Hillary Clinton is banned then.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
In fact, I think a whole lot of Democrats ought to be banned from ever participating on NBC.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly, it's clear.
And I respect where you're coming from, and I respect the issues that you're raising. You're not answering the question. Do you think it was... You're not using the word legitimate.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections and of ensuring the principle of one person, one vote.
I agree with tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
Well, of course, we know that's never going to happen, because if the left didn't have double standards, the left wouldn't have standards at all. We know that these standards only exist to be arbitrarily applied to people that they dislike, or really people that are somewhat associated with Donald Trump. It just goes to show how off the frickin' edge these activist lefty types have really gone. I thought the Rona McDaniel hire was perfect. I thought MSNBC was doing what they usually do, picking up another establishment Republican to be paid controlled opposition to help push their narratives, and even Rona McDaniel kind of did that during her interview with Kristen Welker.
And you've been convicted, then that should stay.
So then, but to the question though, do you disagree with Trump saying he's going to free those who've been charged?
I do not think people who committed violent acts on January 6th should be freed.
So you disagree with that? He's been saying that for months. Rona, why not speak out earlier? Why just speak out about that now?
When you're the RNC chair, you kind of take one for the whole team, right? Now I get to be a little bit more myself, right? This is what I believe.
She fed into their January 6th narrative. She did their bidding. But apparently that wasn't good enough. No, because as we know, if you're going to be on the left at all, if you're going to be part of any of their cultural institutions, you need to be all in or you're out. Can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't be on the line. You need to be all the way in. You need to jump into the freaking deep end. In other words, or I guess if we translate what Joe Scarborough was saying, NBC News wants conservatives, they want Republican voices to provide a balance, but only people like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, you get it, only those kinds of Republicans. In other words, they want Democrats in Republican clothing. What an absolute farce. These people are fundamentally unserious, they're immature, they're petulant little children. And once again, of course, they're going to get exactly what they were looking for. Scoop from Puck News. NBC News now plans to drop ex-RNC chair Rona McDaniel as a paid contributor following an on-air revolt from NBC/MSNBC talent. Executives are deliberating over details, announcement pending. Meanwhile, McDaniel is seeking legal representation. Everyone knows I'm not Rona McDaniel's biggest fan, but that honestly kind of reinforces my opinion. It just goes to show how weak their narratives are. It just goes to show how everything they've built built has truly been built on a mountain of lies. These Democrat narratives are so fragile, so prone to collapse by the lightest application of scrutiny that even someone like Rona McDaniel is a grievous threat to their precious narrative building. Your basic establishment-style conservative is apparently such a threat to the network, everything they've worked so hard to build. That's how you know they're petrified. That's how weak the dishonest structure that they have created really is. Yet again, I'm just interpreting this whole thing as another leftist tantrum, signaling their desperation and signaling that they're losing badly in the public conversation. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.